Hi everyone. I hope you're having a great Saturday. I hope you have had a chance to regroup after the week and that you're having a great day wherever you are. The weather here is, it's quite wet here. So I've been doing some inside things today and now I'm down in my craft room and about to share some cards with you, or a card at least. I'm going to make a card in front of you and also show you a couple of samples. I don't think I've played with the Desert Details suite in one of my regular Saturday Facebook Lives yet. I know we used it in our launch for the catalogue, which is the mini catalogue that is current. This will finish at the same time as the current annual catalogue. So both of them will finish at the same time, and then we will get our new annual catalogue in May. So this is your last chance to really shop from this catalogue over the next month and a bit. There will be items that are retiring from here. There will also be items that are carried over, and I will let you know what those are so that... Hi Wendy, good to see you. So I'll let you know what items are retiring and what items are being carried over. That will be coming out in my newsletter in April, so you'll know. A couple of things to remind you of is that we are having a colour refresh, which means, now I don't know which colours are going to be taken away and which new colours are going to be added. Nobody knows until the end of this month if you're a demonstrator. Hi Christine. If you're a demonstrator, you'll be in on the goss at the end of March, which is next week. Customers will know when the new catalogue comes out and when it's live what those new colours will be. So what I did want to say was too that some things are going up slightly in price just because of all sorts of factors. So the cardstock, the ink pads, and I think some of the other items that are sort of subject to different production techniques, etc., have had to be put up in price for the next catalogue. So if you are getting low on some cardstock or you want to stock up on some of those things, now is the time to get them. And especially the in colours, because the current in colours that are disappearing won't be available after next month. They will be on the retiring list, and that means they'll go very quickly. So things like re-inkers for your ink pads especially. I'm reminding my customers every time I jump on here now to make sure that you get your re-inkers for the current in colours. Now by current in colours, I mean, let me just go and get them for you so I can remind you. So we have 5 in colours which are disappearing. So we've got Evening Evergreen, this is my markers that I'm showing you. We have Pale Papaya. We have the Polished Pink, which is that gorgeous pink. We also have Fresh Freesia and the Soft Succulent. So all 5 of those in colours will be disappearing after next month, and you need to get them. I would recommend getting them earlier rather than later, even now, rather than wait until they're on the retiring list. Not everything will be discounted on the retiring list either, so it's better to get what you want or what you need before they disappear. Alrighty, I'm going to flip the camera around and I will show you what we're making today. It is a gorgeous card. We actually did this. We did this card in a class at the garden this last week. Now the garden is actually closing. I'm having my last classes there, or my last class will be there next Thursday night. And yeah, and we will be making some beautiful cards. I might just go and grab one to show you what we'll be making. This is just one of them. And we're going to be playing with that beautiful paper from the mini catalogue again, which has been really popular. It's very artistic. It's very impressionist in style. It's the Fancy Flora Designer Series paper, which you'll find on page 15 of the current mini catalogue. But we're going to be doing some different things with it. So some of the cards will be fairly simple. This is a little bit more involved, this card. So we're using our new alphabet set, but we're also using the gilded embellishment, the gilded leaf embellishment on some of on our paper. And I'm going to show you how to play around with your ribbons and fray them so that you get that lovely sort of distressed vintage look with them. So that's just one of the 4 cards that we'll be making. And that's next Thursday at the Garden Wollongong in Corrimal Street. If you're local, come along. I'd love to share my last class at the garden with you if you're free that night. That's next Thursday night. All right, let me get straight into our card that we'll be making. The Desert Detail Suite is one of my favourites from the mini catalogue. Here it is on page 43. You will see that we've got some beautiful papers. We've got dry brushed metallic 12 by 12 specialty paper. We've also got the Delicate Desert 12 by 12 Designer Series paper. There is that gorgeous pale papaya faux velvet trim. It's a colour that's retiring, so if you really love that, you'll want to grab some of that ribbon before we say goodbye to it. The Desert Details bundle is this stamp set. I'll bring the case in so you can see it a little bit more up close and personal. There are some really, really fun stamps to play with. So these 2 make really great backgrounds or borders on a card. The flowers, the desert roses, are really detailed, and they have got that almost, it's like a photorealistic look to them. And a couple of really lovely greetings as well. And of course the dies, some of which we'll be using. There is a selection of dies. There's 2 panels, if you like, of 2 different sizes of panels, and there's some extra little patterns and embellishments. There's 2 that cut out the flowers, and there's a border which we'll be using on our card, as well as some cutouts, and one that looks a little bit like flames coming out from a fire, but it could be leaves, it could be a desert succulent, and of course the gold faceted adhesive backed sequins, which are really fun. There's a couple of different shapes in there too, other than circles. So it's a really lovely suite, and I've enjoyed playing lots with it. So what I have done, I'm not going to cut out everything in front of you today, but I have already used this lovely long die, and I've just cut strips out of our Designer Series paper and our specialty paper. You will see from the strips, let me just pick up one. I think it's pretty clear in this one. You'll see that the die actually puts, not only cuts out the shape, but it puts an embossed pattern onto the Designer Series paper as well. So there is a right and a wrong side. There is an embossed and a debossed side. I love the pattern that this puts on there. So what I've done is I've cut out 5 of these out of different patterns. There's some of that dry brush metallic specialty paper as well in both the pink and the blue. And I am going to start by placing the middle one down first. And that's so that I first of all know where the middle part is. And secondly, it helps me to work out how far apart to put things. So if I aim that just for the middle of my of my base card, then it's easy for me to put these equidistant from that one that I've already adhered. And you'll find that it's easier to get things even on your card. So I'm just putting a smidge of our Tombow multi-purpose glue on the back. It's our specialty paper. These look so pretty all in a row like this. It makes a really lovely background on our card. Now don't worry if you've cut them slightly long, you can trim them before you put it on your card base. This is just applying it to the designer series paper. I've used a fairly plain pattern for my designer series paper. And the last one I'm going to pop just up the top there. That's the spotty paper in that colour. Pale Papaya is the colour. I'm just going to scoot it along so that it's all right. This is looking good. I'm gonna put this to the side, but when it's dry, I will be able to trim off those little bits at the end. All right, so that's the main part of my card done. Next, I have a little piece of Cajun Craze cardstock, which I am going to use I'm going to emboss a greeting on. Now, on my original card, which I'll show you later, I didn't use any of the greetings from the Desert Details, but I do actually want to use this one, which says, "You are what sunshine feels like." I really like that greeting. I think that's gorgeous. And I'm stamping it in the Versamark just up to the top right-hand side of my card. So I'm going to use my grid paper to make sure that I'm stamping my greeting straight on the card. And I will bring in my gold embossing powder. I've just popped this into one of my embellishment cases. And there is the embossing powder all done. And I'm just going to give that a squirt with my heat tool. So you see that really pops now off the Cajun Craze when we have melted that powder. So make sure that all the embossing buddy powder is off, and then you will see, you'll see that that greeting pop off the Cajun Craze cardstock. So that's awesome. Now I'm going to also stamp a little flower. It's the smaller flower from the Desert Detail stamp set. And this flower is really detailed and it's quite gorgeous, but I'm going to stamp it once and then again, and I'll see which strength I like the best, because sometimes full strength of the dark colours is not the way I want to go. So yeah, I'm thinking I'm still liking the full strength one. I think there's enough light and shade in there to make it not too overpowering as a colour. So I have a die here which comes from the Desert Details dies, and I'll just grab my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine and we'll run that through super quick. This is still a lot quicker than cutting up by hand, and if you've got a couple of things to cut out, then I'd recommend you, rather than fussy cutting, hi Hilary, rather than fussy cutting, use your dies, because they just make light work of it. And these dies actually also still put a white rim around the image, which is great. So it's going to stand out against the background. So the background's quite busy, as you can see. We've got quite a busy background for this flower, so I do want it to stand out. That's going to be good. All right, I'm going to pop that over there. So I have my I have my greeting. Now, I did want to put a bit of extra embellishment down the bottom here just to kind of tie it in with the rest of the card. And I wanted to make sure I had some pink, I think that's Calypso Coral, in with the gold, mixed in with the gold. So it's a spare strip that I had lying around on my desk. And I'm just going to pop that down the bottom here. So that will just be a little bit of extra embellishment. And now we can trim off that end so that it fits across that piece. I'm going to flip this over the easiest way to do it is flip it over and then just cut out the bits that are overhanging like that, just to neaten that up a little bit. I think this side might need a little trim as well. There we go, so they're all nice and neat. Okay, so I'm going to start laying things out on my card here. I've got some dimensionals which I will also use. Don't throw out your dimensionals when they look like that because you can still use the surround. I know most of you know that. The other thing about the surround is you don't have to cut it with scissors. You can just pull it off like that and it will come off, and you can apply it to the back of your projects. It's quite easy to do. So I've got some dimensionals behind the flower, but I'm also going to grab some for the greeting panel. And what I will do with the greeting panel is pop some ribbon behind it. Okay, so I'm going to get, on my original card, I actually used that faux velvet ribbon, the pale papaya ribbon, but I've run out of that. So I'm going to grab my satin ribbon, my soft succulent satin ribbon, which is also retiring. It is a gorgeous colour and it's going to pick up the greens. I've actually got mint macaron as my base card, I think. Mint macaron goes with, it goes with soft succulent quite nicely. And look, I like this ribbon, but what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut along the edge of it. And this is something that I always love to do. If you've been in any of my classes, you'll know that more often than not, I will alter the ribbon that we're using in some way, shape or form. So you've got a thinner ribbon there, which you could use on another project, but I've also got this ribbon and I'm just going to pull out some of the fibers. You see how feathery and sparkly they are? They are going to look really nice on our project. So I've got this ribbon, which I'm going to loop around like that, and then I'm just going to also grab the feathery bits and kind of tie them or put them together like that before I bring my greeting panel back in. And I'll just take the backing off these dimensionals. And this is going to hold everything together. Let's put one more in the middle. So this is how I apply ribbon to a lot of my projects. There's nothing really too scientific about it. So I just get the panel or the piece that I want the ribbon to be adhered to, and I just pop it behind. So it's actually sticking onto all of those dimensionals. And then I pop it straight down onto my card. So I've still got some exposed sticky on my dimensionals, which is great. I'm just going to put it about there, I think. So you can see how it sort of matches in with the, with the pieces that I've cut out, with that long die. And it looks like it really belongs on that card now. I'm going to grab my little flower, my desert rose, and that is going to sit round about there. And for a little bit of added embellishment, I'm just going to grab a teardrop from those sequins. I really love this shape, and that's just going to tuck just behind that petal there. So that it adds a little bit more sparkle. It's a very sparkly card so far. Obviously for a very special person. I also will just apply this whole thing to my card base. I've used mint macaron. I know I'm mixing all my greens and stuff together, but yeah, Stampin' Up has worked out the bases for a lot of their colours and has worked out that you can actually combine them, you know, several different greens, because they start off with either a yellow base or a blue base, or a red base, and yeah, somehow all of the colours with the same base go together. So there is my card. I really like that. Let me show you my original one. This one actually has a thank you from a different stamp set. I can't remember the name of it now. I'll look it up for you and try and put it down the bottom. And slightly different, obviously, because we've got the pale papaya. So there's my second one. Now, would you like to see what a portrait version of this card looks like? So here is a portrait orientation of this card. And instead of that plain piece, I've actually made a little tag, which I've placed at an angle on the card. Same technique. I've used 7 smaller strips at the back. Same technique for the background. And my little desert rose is stamped in mint macaron this time. So that's another thank you card. And here's another card that we made at our desert details class at the garden last week. This one, you may not have seen this one. I actually frayed that velvet ribbon. How gorgeous does that look when it's frayed? And that ends up with some lovely feathery bits as well. And I've just used 2 of those sequins. These flowers were made with a technique called rocking and rolling. So what you do is you ink up your stamp in the paler colour, so pale papaya, and then you roll it in the darker Cajun Craves, and you end up with a lovely 2-tone flower. So I just embossed the greeting again inside one of those flowers. That will go at the front. And there's one of the other dies with the brushed metallic specialty paper. And that's what the panels look like. One of the panels looks like, see that gorgeous detail in there? It is so beautiful. There's so much detail in this suite. So can I recommend you having a little look at it in the mini catalogue? And if you haven't already added it to your collection, now is the time. It's available while supplies last, so if it goes onto the retiring list, it may sell out fairly quickly. It has been a fairly popular suite. Thank you so much for watching today. I'm going to take a picture of each of these cards and I'll pop them on my Facebook page so you can have a closer look. I will flip you back around. Yeah, you'll love that technique, Christine. I love feathering ribbons for my cards. I just have always done that. This is also some ribbon, the natural ribbon, I think that is from the one of the suites in the annual catalogue. I've just cut it in thirds and used it through, looped it through my little top of my tag. So there's lots of different ways that you can use your ribbons. I'm going to flip you back around and pop you back in my cradle. Thank you so much for watching today. If you have, oops, I've just done something. There we go. If you enjoyed my video, make sure you say hi. And I hope you guys have a creative rest of the day, whatever you're doing. And I'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. Bye.